שפת המקובלים היא שפה של ענפים.
The language of Kabbalists is a language of branches, meaning that the branches point to their roots, being their molds, that necessarily exist in the upper world. This is because there is no reality in the lower world that is not elicited from its superior, as with a mold and an imprint. The root in the upper world compels its branch in the lower one to reveal its entire form and feature, since each and every branch in this world well defines its mold situated in the higher world. The highest root is the Creator, and out of His desire, the thought to benefit His created beings, thought and desire and action in Him are the same thing. They're equal. And from Him, this desire, this thought, is being implemented. Because we are created beings, and a created being is opposite to the Creator. In order for us to feel anything, there has to be a sensation that includes both aspects, black, white, darkness, light, good, evil, and so on. This means that we only perceive out of a collision or a boundary between two opposite entities. Our state is similar to a state of unconsciousness, from which we very gradually awaken and come to a full awareness. The wisdom of Kabbalah sharpens for me the sensation that it's bad to be unconscious. It's called the recognition of evil. It's good for me to be in this awareness, meaning that I get a push from within to open up my senses, my channels. This is all that I get from the method, but it's enough. And as I develop, I begin to see and attain that all of the states that a person goes through are states that happen inside the person, and they are called worlds. This means that I renew the sense and reveal the world in a more and more clear way. I start to attain, in addition to this world, what is beyond it, through which more and more states become apparent to me. And I begin to see the picture of reality that includes many layers. They're actually identical. When I'm in a world, I'm also in that same state. Only that each time it becomes clearer. And this elevation through these levels, from below moving to above, these levels of awareness, of attainment, open up for me the awareness of that upper power, which itself evolves from above to below. And this is called the root. All that emerges from it within my senses is called the worlds, meaning that the difference between all the worlds is not in what is in them, what they include. They only include my tarag, 613 desires. But it's in the fact that the more I reveal of the quality of the action of the upper power in my 613 desires, the more it is considered that the light is revealed in the vessels. We have 5 worlds. Why 5? The world of Ein Sof, infinity, is the light, the entire light without end. And this world is complete darkness. And in between them there are filters, the olamot, worlds, derived from the word ha'alama, meaning concealment. Adam Kadmon Atzilut, Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asiya, 5 worlds, through which the upper light comes and becomes weakened towards the creatures of that world. But the items of each world are 5 parts of fame. Each one containing 5 Sephirot, or 10 Sephirot, it doesn't matter how we count. They're identical in each and every world. And so in each and every world exists the same, say, 25 levels, steps. So what's different in each world? What's the difference between the worlds? The difference between the worlds is in their coarseness, the extent to which they conceal the upper light or absorb it from above to below on its way to expand downward. The lower the world is, the greater the coarseness is. The coarseness. In the upper world, it is root, then Aleph, Bet, Gimel, and Dalet. These are the levels of the coarseness or thickness. Why is it possible to attain the reality only from an opposite state? Was there no other possibility of doing it? Why is it possible to attain reality only from the opposite state? Because we are opposite. Created being and creator are 2 opposite things. The attribute of the creator is the property of bestowal. The attribute of the created being was created by exclusion. Something was excluded from him, called nivra, created being, derived from the word bar, meaning external. So outside of him can only exist something that has the opposite attribute of reception. And in such a way they are 2 opposing entities. There can't be anything outside of one attribute that is not contrary to that attribute. That's why the creator and the created being are 2 opposite entities from the beginning. At first there's light, yes, the bestower, and then the light desires to build itself a vessel, a receiver, and then to make the vessel a true receiving vessel. This is the entire evolution down to this world. Vessel starts attaining coarseness of the level of Shorish, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, and then inside the vessel is born accordingly a lack, a desire, darkness, more and more and more. But at the same time, the issue of concealment is also created in the vessel. It gradually senses less and less. If in the world of Adam Kadmon, according to how fine it is, it senses more light, and the coarser it becomes, it senses less light. The sensation is according to the similarity. Being in this lower world, it is first of all divided into a multitude of souls, not sensing at all that it belongs to one single system. And each and every soul is entirely disconnected from the light, not even sensing the light of Bechina Dalet, but only what is below the barrier, meaning completely disconnected from the sensation of the root. Who am I? I can discover me only if I reveal first that there's someone, the Creator, opposite to me. One can't be without the other. This sensation always includes 2 entities. We as created beings can never sense anything out of a single property, because we began sensing ourselves out of the action of the light within the desire. A desire cannot awaken unless there is some kind of a filling opposite it. We can see that this is even how we are influenced in order for us to develop a desire. I want you to want something, and so gradually, by giving and giving to you, you start developing to it a kind of a relationship, a feeling, memories, reshemot, impressions, and then you gradually develop a desire for that filling. Light is always preceding. It must work in the desire in order to create it, to grow it, to nurture it, and then to fill it. Therefore, what's missing in our world for me to advance? I only lack the sensation of the Creator, within the contrast, the oppositeness between me and Him. The more I reveal Him, the more I will reveal myself, and then I will receive a greater impression of my reality. Who am I? The I is the one who senses what is opposite to me. This is called the sensation of life, the sensation of how juicy, how rich life is. What is the opposite of me? What is there in life? Openness, right? A picture which is as wide as possible. What does wide mean? More extreme. That's therefore my goal, to reveal divinity through all of my channels as much as I can, in the most opposite vessels. That's why the created being needs to incarnate into this world, and in this world start to reveal the Creator from the opposite state. Then once the created being reveals Him, it really possesses the whole vessel, from 0 to 100%. We here in this world are inside some vessel, some sense. Our general sense is desire to receive. It has 5 inputs: vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Overall, what I receive from their totality is called the picture of the world. Through sensing the world, I develop a language. I develop language, so I give the names to everything that I sense, to all that goes through my 5 senses. I develop the language, I have all the names, this sense, and how I sharpen this sense further with the sensation of the upper degree. So through this sense, I begin revealing that it includes 613 desires. It always was this way before, but I never felt it. And now, how will I name what I sense in each and every desire? I name the sensations using the same words describing what I felt before as well, only that before I didn't know which impression or sensation belonged to which sense. Now I find out how to relate them, meaning that I begin to attain more clearly what the root of my sensation is. The root is here, and the sensation was in me before as well, so here the sensation is called branch. And what awakens it is root. This is called attaining the roots. When I rise from below to above, I attain the roots, meaning that I actually attain lights, actions, that build me on the lower level from above to below. In this way, every time a person rises, the person discovers in those same 613 desires what activates them, what fills them, while his or her language remains the language of the level below, of what the person has already previously attained in the reality of this world. That's why, if you open a book, you won't see any weird symbols there, like those that you see sometimes in a computer, you know? Like sort of hieroglyphs. So, you open books written by Kabbalists, and you don't see anything like that. Just plain, regular language. You just don't know what they mean by every word, but the words themselves are familiar. Just the true meaning of what they write isn't known. And that's because they took words from our world, but they're not discussing our world. They're discussing different states that they're in while in the upper world. So if you want to understand the Kabbalist, you need to rise to at least some level, someplace in the upper world. At each state that you will be in the upper world, you'll use the same words, but every time a different picture will be revealed to you. It's revealed like a movie, like in a cinema, on a screen. This screen is your 613 senses. To the extent that they become more adapted to the sensation of the light. So you always use words of this world, but the image you attained is according to your ability to decipher the words. Are the 5 spiritual senses equivalent to the 5 senses of this world, or do they develop independently? The 5 spiritual senses are named the same way as the senses of our world. Where else would you get the names from? And these 5 senses supposedly are behind our 5 senses, but there's no connection between them. Because our senses are derived entirely from the final inanimate degree of the desire to receive. Those senses can exist or not exist. A person can exist without a body, just within the soul and its 5 senses. Keter, Chachma, Bina, Zeranpin, Malchut. A person may also be inside the body, within the bestial body, maybe without eyes, without ears, God forbid, but it wouldn't disturb the spiritual attainment, because these senses don't belong, they don't depend on the quality of inner effort, the development and correction of the desire that's in the person. They belong to the body itself, which is the beast which exists in this way at the lower level. What is outside of this box of ours, this body with 5 senses? We must already attain through our own efforts. How do we reveal the picture? We could say this, that we generally are within the light. Upper light. And in order to reveal it, to have any sensation of our state, the created being needs to be transparent in relation to the light, meaning that my desire would be completely similar to the light, to that property of bestowal. And then I will virtually disappear inside this light in relation to how it passes through me, and then my sensation as a vessel towards the light will be the most extreme sensation. On one hand, my attribute, which I now acquired, I attained, in that I'll be similar to the light, in my feeling. The feeling is not, a sensation is always based on my nature, so in my sensation, I'll feel the entire 100% of the difference between me and the light that passes through me. In that way, while I try to make myself similar to the light, in the external form, in the extension, the external correction, I begin to feel how opposite I am inside of me, in my nature of receiving of the light. And this extreme sensation gives me 100% feeling of existence in life, a complete attainment of similarity to the Creator. I attain eternity and wholeness. These two opposite things are what confuses us. We can't comprehend this, how the attainment is not achieved through just one channel, but two. Because in our life we have no contact with anything that's opposite to us. We're not constructed to have any perception or any understanding that it is possible to attain anything spiritual. That happens only through revealing the opposite of it, on one hand, and the extent of the effort that we put into revealing what it's like to be similar to it. For us in this world, there's only preparation of the vessel. Me, the egoist. The greater my ego is, the more I can grab and swallow. In spirituality, your vessel has to be made of 2 points, Malchut and Keter. Malchut remains as coarse as possible, and Keter must be as fine as possible. Reaching this understanding that in this way we can feel the spiritual out of the two extreme points, the attainment of the extreme point, the similarity to the light, is actually our only difficulty. The attainment of the opposite point, which is not in us, is already beyond the barrier. It's the point of Bina. And it's not understood that the feeling of attainment and perception of life includes two opposing entities. This just isn't comprehended. And that's why this sensation, which is built on the feeling in Malchut and in Keter, overall, this sensation is concealed, and it's called the upper world, spiritual life.